Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This is a bonus series set of podcast episodes called Comedy Night in the Spotlight, where I'll be speaking to people on the comedy circuit who run their own gigs, giving them the chance to tell you, the listeners, all about it, how you can get involved watching the comedy they put on, and also how to apply. Today's guest puts on a night outside of London. Weird, yes, I know, shocking, but it's one close to home for me. Not just for distance, but I think I was on its first ever night. This night is set to grow and grow. It is my great pleasure to welcome Dean Harmer from For One Night Only. Hello, Dean.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. And yeah, you were on the first bill, and thank you for that.
That's okay. It was close to home. We've got to give it a shot.
Yeah. No brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. So come on, For One Night Only. Why did it start, and what made you want to put this on?
I've been on the open mic circuit for it was best part of a year, and I was slogging up to London and doing these open mic gigs, and I thought, do you know what? Hitchin, where we are, which is about 30 miles north of London, and about 10 miles north of you, is a really, really cool place. And we've always had a comedy scene because we've had this company, Mostly Comedy, who have been running for about 15 years and have brought real big names to us. I've seen Catherine Ryan and James Acaster and Phil Jupitus. And so they bring people that are household names up, and so they've got that covered. And I thought, this isn't the kind of comedy that I'm doing. This isn't at the level that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm really just starting out, and I think that there's a real place. There are loads and loads of nights in London.
Yeah.
Why are we not having this kind of stuff further out? And can I get some of these amazing people I'm seeing? Yourself included. I saw you in London first.
Yeah.
Up to Hitchin, and to an audience that are already G'd up for comedy.
Yeah. So I guess that's one of the benefits in that because there's not much that goes on. When something goes on, people show up.
Yeah, exactly that.
So I guess one of the common questions for all of these things, especially within London, is it's a bringer, but this isn't a bringer night, is it?
No. I just showed you my sheet of notes, and one of the big things on my sheet of notes was about bringers and nights that insist on bringers. Now, I get it, and I've heard many people on here talk about bringers, and I know it's a hot potato.
Yeah.
But surely, if you're asking your acts to bring people, then you haven't got a night. You've got acts.
Yeah, I think it's the oversaturation. Well, I say oversaturation. The amount of comics there are in London on the scene,
Yeah,
and the amount of people that want to put on nights. There's an audience and an appetite for it, but there's not an audience and appetite for the sheer number of nights there is.
Absolutely. There are the amount of times I've played to 8 other comics and a dog.
Yeah,
it's not what I want.
No.
And if your night can't, if you haven't got enough general public audience.
Yeah.
I was one of the other things on here is I was trying to come up with a generic term for an audience that's sort of like that means general public, and I've always said warm bodies. and I was thinking I'm not a Harry Potter fan or anything. Don't get me labelled with that. But muggles is such a good expression.
Yeah.
For like non-magician types. And I was thinking, have we got commuggles? What have we got? So, I mean, I had commuggles. That's what I've written down, but I haven't really explored it. Anybody want to venture in, welcome. But real warm-bodied audience, what we would call or think of as a paying audience, even though mostly they're not.
Yeah.
But a willing audience who are going to come along and see comedy. Lovely, lovely people that they are.
Yes.
And, in London, like you say, the saturation is so great, and there's such a need to showcase these acts,
Yeah.
or is there just the fact that people go, oh, do you know what? I could put on a night, and then I can put myself on,
Yeah.
and I, we've heard people talk about that too. But it's and that, I mean, no word of a lie. There was an element of that in me doing it in Hitchin. It's like me paying out £50 a night to go to London.
Yeah.
Where you got to get dinner and you got to pay the train fare and you sometimes pay to play. I mean, I get pay to play as well. I understand that completely, because you go places like Comedy Virgins on the Cavendish Arms, and there's always commuggles there.
Yeah.
It's not just acts. Anyway, sorry, I meandered off.
No, that's fine.
It's going to be one of those, I'm afraid. Strap in, kids. That we have an appetite for it out here, and we have this untapped pool of talent in London, and it's a matter of in London who are touring London, and as it turns out, they're not all from London. They're coming from further north than here.
Yes, yeah. So I guess one of the questions is the location's obviously created for convenience because of your own personal location.
Yeah.
It's fairly commutable from London in that it's about 25 minutes from King's Cross and Pancras area.
Yeah.
It's not that far from to get from the train station to the venue itself isn't a particular hardship.
No, it's very walkable.
But the actual, I guess we should talk about is that people should know that the venue that it's currently in is not its original starting venue.
No. The venue we're in now is the venue I wanted.
Yeah.
But we had negotiations on a room hire.
Yeah.
Which didn't go well. And so I started spreading my seed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that's the right expression.
Exploring opportunities.
That's much better, thank you. That's why you're in the big seat. I started looking around and had some conversations, and found a really, really lovely old boozer in Hitchin, which has been done up and had an upstairs room, and were prepared to explore the possibility of running a comedy night with me.
Yeah.
So they donated the room for the evening, and they had a PA and microphone. Lighting wasn't particularly great, but they had a bar.
Yeah.
And they could seat 30 people. So we trialed it from October last year, and we did October, November, December, and again we sold out all 3 nights.
Yeah,
sold out. Sorry, we made 30 tickets available, and all 30 went, and there were bums on seats on the night.
Yeah,
real live commuggles, who I'm going with it, Mark. I'm going with it. Sorry, and they come along. They're warm. They're receptive, and my God, they lapped it up.
Yeah.
With very little advertising as well.
Yeah, I think that's the one of the nice things is that I think what proves there's an appetite for it is that every time the tickets sell out, it's before any act has been announced.
Absolutely.
And they just want to see something.
I think one of the, obviously it's word of mouth is the primary mover.
Yeah.
And that's spreading and spreading. You know, the first night was mostly people I know and people I work with.
Yeah.
But then the second night was only 50% that, and then the third night was only about 10% that. But then I've also proportionally started to pop it out on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mistakenly thought that Instagram was the venue for this because I like Instagram, and I thought, Facebook's for the old people, innit? But actually, Facebook's for the real people and comedians. Yeah. and very few of us are as old as me. So, But yes, you're right. Before we announce any act, but then the fact of the matter is, almost none of the names that we book will mean anything to anybody here.
Yeah.
I only announce the names so that we can tag them, and if people want to, they can do a little bit of a lookie
Yeah.
in advance. And let's face it, one, then the acts. If you tag them, all the acts will share.
Yep.
Two, it's love. It's all love. You've got to share with them. An online presence is so important now for comedians.
Yeah.
And just and just to get their names out there, just so that they can move it around a bit,
Yeah, I think it's always nice when a comedian sees. Then I remember the first time I ever saw my name on a website listing for a gig. It was like, oh, that feels proper.
Yeah.
And then you see your picture on another poster, and you're like, oh, that's nice. And it just gives you that little bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling that you count.
Yes. I've been debating the pictures thing actually.
Yeah.
Because I keep my first TNT flyer, which was the first thing I ever appeared on.
Oh, I've got mine's up. You won't be able to see it, but mine's on the wall up there.
Yeah, mine's just over here.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, everyone cites Sama as, it's like two things. It's like, it's great fun, long night.
Yeah.
But bless her, she's absolutely wonderful, and she puts in so much work.
Yes.
And that was, I think her level of investment was like my first real, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you really have got to put something into this.
Yeah.
You can't just show up.
No.
But that said, the artist's supply, managing them isn't very difficult once you get them all on the same platform.
Yeah.
And by and large, they're absolutely lovely. And we do a thing, I don't know if everyone does it. It hasn't been done many times in the groups I've been with, but I set up a WhatsApp group for every night that we run, so that I can communicate directly with everyone and also hook them up, so that hopefully if they are coming from London, maybe they can car share, maybe they can travel together.
Yeah.
Just things to try and make it a little bit easier for them. If the train station's about a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
Which, if you're finishing at 10:30, isn't the best thing in the world if you're on your own.
Yeah.
And so if we can share lifts back to the station, lifts to North London, that's happening, and that's quite nice.
Yeah, I think it's a real it's bringing the comedians together, and it's also understanding the trials and the challenges that some people have when it comes to the travel aspect of it.
Yeah.
We all know that those that come from outside of London into London, you start navigating tubes, where you're going, which lines you're doing, and all of that. But if you've got somebody that is coming into Hertfordshire, they're like, oh, don't really go there. So what's the deal? And they get there and there's no tube. They have to look for a bus.
They're wondering if there are bison and stuff.
So I think it's a really nice touch to have the group, because it brings everybody together for the night. I guess if you were doing a night every single week, it would be quite hard to manage. But
yes,
because it's a 2 week, 4 week, whichever period it is, it also builds up to the night.
Yeah, absolutely that. We do a little bit of social to keep people appraised of ticket sales.
Yeah.
Preemptive what the lineup is, but we tend to only announce the lineup about a week before.
Yeah.
We've only just done our 6th night, so we're still very new. We're still learning.
Yeah.
And there are lots and lots of things we want to do. It's changed a lot already, in that, like you say, we've changed venue, and the venue change happened because the pub said, "Oh, actually, now we'll do room hire."
Okay.
I went, oh, okay. And they said, we want a certain take over the bar as well. And I said, I just can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
The number they wanted was fairly high.
Right.
And much as you're getting 30 people in the door,
yeah,
it's like, it's a weeknight. Because we run, we were trialing different nights for the first 3. We did a Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. And Thursdays turned out to be like the new Friday.
Yeah.
Which is It's great for us because then in our new venue at the Market Theatre in Hitchin, Thursday is a great night for them because they usually have shows on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So there's very often a hole in their schedule that day. So we sort of dovetail into that nicely. And they, having had a room hire issue,
Yeah.
we went in and we renegotiated. The royal we, and renegotiated and said, look, I can't guarantee you a good bar take, but I can guarantee you there will be bodies there. And they said, oh, but we can take twice as many people.
Yeah.
So that, okay, because they're a theatre.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it's the smaller part of the theatre, but it's just, I mean, you've been there, Mark. You've played, and we've got a bar in the room, but it's cozy and warm, and I don't know. It's got something. It's more like a club than a pub.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway. If you're like used to doing pub basements and pub attics and stuff like that, the walking
which
into
are wonderful.
But the moment you open that door and you walk into that room and you see the black curtain with the sign on there, you've got a small elevated stage and you see the road seating, and then you see the bar on the right hand side. It's just like, and it's perfectly lit because it's not too light and it's not too dark, and there's just that, I don't know, there's a feel to it that doesn't make it feel like you are intruding on someone else's space. It feels like it's your space, and it is your space because it's your room.
Exactly.
Nobody else comes in there.
It's a dedicated night.
Yeah.
And thank you. That's a really nice description as well, because that's exactly the feeling you want.
Yeah.
Because the outside of the building is really unobtrusive. It's sort of a squat brick building.
Yeah.
And you walk through this little black door, and then you're in a comedy club.
Yeah. I think it's amazing.
It's great fun. It's really, really good. And we did just have like lovely black curtains, and I thought, I need to brand this. I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a guy I work with, and I was saying, "Shall I get a pull-up banner?" And he said, "You could do, yeah." And I said, "Oh, we could do projection on the back, or do our logo, because we've got this great big sort of smiley logo." And we were talking about that. And then I was watching some other clips on YouTube, and somebody was on at the Comedy Store, and they've got that big round logo that sits behind you like a halo and surrounds you. And I just thought, well, there's branding, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I said, right, how big do you reckon that is? And I just sort of I've been to the Comedy Store, you know, you look at it and you go, yeah. And I just thought, right, okay, I reckon that's 1.5 meters.
Yeah.
So sent off, I've got a friend who's a printer, and I sent it off. I said, can you make this on a big sort of solid foam so it's nice and rigid and we can hang it from the back?
Yeah.
And it arrived, and I don't think the Comedy Store one's 1.5 meters. I think that's 1 meter, because it's enormous. It's absolutely fucking huge. I was walking in there with it. I was like the Vulture or something. I was like being crucified.
It's certainly imposing, but it's I know it just has that. It just looks right.
It feels right as well, and you know, in sort of commercial terms, it gets in all the pictures.
Yeah,
it gets in all the video footage, and because now we've had something like 50 acts on. I mean, not all with the disc in the background, but the word is starting to get out that it's a good night.
Yeah.
And so now people can see it online. I mean, they always see it on my stuff, which obviously you'll post links to. Bless you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mark. And you know, the vision is getting out as well as the vibe. It's not just acts. It's not just my audience or our audience. It's becoming a thing, which is in 6 months just feels amazing.
Yeah. No, yeah. Everyone I speak to, but if I've seen him on the list for Hitchin, it's like, what do you think of Hitchin? Amazing, brilliant. I want to go. And there's somebody I spoke to who said, I love the fact that I got a 10-minute spot on whatever it was. She said, but don't tell him I'd do a 5 just to go back. You're just like,
That's really wonderful. I'm going to actually. I need to shout out to a guy called Andrew Dipple, who I think he runs the Harrow Night, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I've met Andrew a couple of times. I know is that his Dipple showcase thing.
He did that, but I thought he also did. Is it Sunset in Harrow?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I didn't know he ran that.
I'm not 100%, so sorry if I've got this wrong. But I was on a comedy course with him latter part of last year while I was just setting up for one night only.
Yeah.
And I was saying, the first one, we did a load of 5s, didn't we? And we did 10s at the end of the first half and 10 at the end of the show. And he said, people aren't going to come out of London for 5s.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? He said, people aren't going to come out of London for 5s. I said, but I go into London for 5s. He said, yeah, but people ain't coming out.
Yeah.
And so our second show, I advertised as 10s, fewer acts.
Yeah.
And you know what? People came. And that seems to set the precedent. But now we're discovering more local talent. We're finding out that so many people so close to us are popping out of the woodwork, and they're people I've heard of. I didn't realise they live within 10 miles of me.
Yeah.
And people who are now doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Have popped up and they said, "Oh, I didn't know this was here." It's like, well, it wasn't, but now it is.
Yeah.
Come on in, and we're having a whale of a time. And so we're getting people who have come out, and we're getting new acts as well. Like we had last month, we had Mia, who it was her first real life gig.
Yeah,
and I wanted to let her have some stage time because we've got this facility to share with people.
Yep.
We've got an audience, and because it was her first gig, I said you can have 5 minutes, and also because she's local.
Yep.
And she absolutely smashed it.
Yep.
She was super. I mean, we had a good MC on the night. That's who did. I'll come back to you on that actually, because there are a couple of things I need to talk to you about on that. But no, she smashed it. We've had other people who have come along and they've done sort of less than 35 gigs, and so we give them 7s. So but that's still pretty early in your career to be banging out a 7.
Yeah.
And I've offered people 10s and they've said, do you know what, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But I will come for a 7 or I'll come for a 5. But if you offer the 10s out, people will come. And now we're getting people who have done we had lovely Des from St Albans come along, and he's done 1,000 gigs.
Yeah.
And he comes along to an open mic comedy night, unpaid, and does 10 minutes and tears the roof off.
Oh, I can imagine.
And he phoned me after, actually. Yeah. And I don't know, Des, I don't know if I'm allowed to repeat this, but I'm going to, because this is the nicest thing I think anyone said about the night. And he said, because he runs, what's it called? Just another
comedy club, I think it
that's
is.
It, thank
in
you.
St Albans, in the Crown.
Yeah. I always call it Just a Laugh. But in St Albans on a Wednesday night, it's a great night.
Yep.
And he phoned me on the weekend and said, thanks for having me on. He said, I just wanted to say, I thought I ran the best comedy night in Hertfordshire. He said, and I don't. It's like, wow, it properly sat me on my ass, that did. I was really, really made up.
Yeah.
It's like, he didn't need to do that.
No.
He didn't need to do that at all. And it was so... wet eyes now.
It's a bit wet in here.
Yeah, condensation, I'm sure, is something. But that was just about the sweetest thing. And he's recommended loads of acts. We've had a real influx since then.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, which is really nice. But we're looking to book up the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The venue are really happy with us, and we love it there. I mean, we might have to be a little bit flexible with the nights that we run.
Yeah.
As in, it might not always be the last Thursday in the month.
Yeah.
But we list out our dates on our Google form, and comics can apply. It's a really simple form.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it.
Yep.
That's the drill.
So the I guess explain the ticket situation. We've touched on it already. There's tickets for comics, not tickets for commuggles, as you call it.
Commuggles. Come up with a better one. Come on. Yes, we release it through Ticket Source, and we allow for 60 seats.
Yeah.
Plus 8 to 10 more for the comedians, because I like to keep them in the room as well.
Yeah.
And we could probably squeeze in more people, but I want it to be comfortable.
Yes.
So there's room to get to the bar. People aren't falling over each other. You can come in, and and that it's not an absolute smush at the back.
Yeah.
So we released 60 tickets, and in real terms, what did it? I released them on Sunday. It's Thursday now. We've got rid of booked out over half already.
Yeah.
This morning I posted the ticket links on Facebook, so I expect they'll be gone by Monday.
Yeah.
We'll be full. Usually a couple of returns the day before.
Yeah.
People say I can't come, which is standard. I always overbook ever so slightly, because we can always bung in a couple of extra chairs. But I can't take walk-ins on the night.
No.
Because if we said that was going to happen, it would. And people do come a fair distance too. It's not just locals, although there are a lot of locals.
Yeah.
It's a well-attended night. And we have a mix of regulars and newbies each time. And yeah, really, really nice feedback. Really nice. People feeding back about the acts is the primary one is, this sounds rubbish, but you've got to take it as it's meant, which is they were surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows their names.
Yep.
They have no expectation.
Yep.
They think they're going out for something where they can just sit and watch a comedian, but they're up for it.
Yeah.
The audiences are all up for it. They've committed some of their time.
Yep.
And then we come along and entertain them. And then we say at the end, it costs money to run this night, and we have a bucket, and we donations on the door. And people by and large are pretty decent about that too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And the aim is, if we can keep this going for a few more months, then maybe we'll look at a paid ticket, and then we can start paying the acts, because we've got guaranteed income. That's I suppose that's when we go pro, isn't it?
That will be the biggest test, I think, because once you're asking people to pay up front, even if it's a nominal £5 or something, see how quickly tickets sell out. Because the one thing I did think was quite interesting was that we're kind of going for a tangent here, but the night I did in February was the end of February, and then the next one was about 2 or 3 weeks later, wasn't it? 2 weeks later, I think, and then the next one 6 weeks beyond that.
Yes,
I was interested to see if that March one in the middle would sell out because of the one that happened only 2 weeks beforehand.
It was slower, but it did.
Yeah, so I think there is an appetite for more than one a month. But I think it's a fine balancing act between getting that right, and I think that's it's almost like you want a 3-week gap. It's almost like 2's a little bit too short, but 4's a little bit too long. But then 4 gets.
And the thing is, you have to try that out for 3 as well.
Yeah.
To see if you get a consistent result.
Yeah.
It's got to be process driven.
But it's nice that these things are being thought about beforehand, because it's just got something about it that you can tell there's thought gone into it. It's not just something that's been chucked up. I completely understand why people get the pull from the floor banners and stuff, because they're easy to transport and you don't want to leave them in the venues. But when you've got the luxury of your office is opposite the venue, you can just wheel the big wheel backwards and forwards every time, and it's no hassle.
You say that.
It's slightly less hassle.
Well, it would have been. I've actually negotiated to leave it at the venue now.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So that was the end result of last time.
Yeah.
So the bar take must have been particularly good.
And that is a nice thing, is that the bar staff there always seem quite supportive of what's going
they're fantastic. They really are. The staff at the Market Theatre are awesome, but the bar staff on the night are always. We had this month. We had people who had staffed the month before and the month before that, but they were off this month. But they came in anyway and worked the bar unpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They were helping out unpaid because they wanted to see the show.
Yeah.
And we were sold out.
Yeah. I thought we can get in here somehow.
Yeah, it's bang on. And so, these compliments are just so big.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. People actually asking to work that night, and, it's great. And they really look after our commuggles as well,
Yeah.
Because they're great. And we've had some great ones. We have some very, very entertaining people in our audience.
I guess.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah.
But talking about looking after people, and you saying the amount of effort it takes, the night that you emceed, which was what I said I was going to come back to, you thoroughly got involved and helped out with the running order, put some opinions in place, helped out with the transport thing also, and was saying, look, we've got these people, would it be good to get them a cab? You suggested so many brilliant ideas.
Thank you.
It was awesome. It was from a point of care was incredible. So and stuff that was above and beyond. I don't want to say bare minimum, but I do what I can do. And you had this extra layer, which was awesome. And it really opened my eyes to how much you could care for these artists who are taking their time to come down unpaid. And I think that's really decent.
I think it's the because technically you'd like all the acts to stay the whole night, but it's finishing 10:30 in Northern Hertfordshire. If people are going into South London, trains start getting scarce after 11 o'clock. So having it as easy for them to be able to get away, if it means that they go in the first half, so they have that opportunity to see the end of the first half, and then they need to go. But then it also gives us the opportunity to see how the night's running and how the timekeeping is going. So if we think we're going to be finished by 10 o'clock or whatever, then great. If we think it's going to extend to 10:30, could say to them, right, we can organise a taxi to come and pick you up in half an hour. Don't worry about it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
You get home safe. Ultimately, that's absolutely the thing. And in this day and age when everybody wants to encourage more and more females to come on board into this circuit, I think it's making their safety and making them as comfortable as possible is as paramount as it can be. Absolutely right. And I always think it's the administration side that I kind of get myself involved in, that I sometimes some people say I go too into it with other things, but if you turn up at a night and you know when you're on, before you walk in the door, you know what your time schedule's like. Yep. And there's never that. I'm always one of these people that turns up to a gig early. And in some ways that's good because you can offer to help if they need any help. But in another way, you feel like a bit of a loose end if they don't need any help and you're just hanging around. Yeah. Whereas if you know you're going to be on in the first half or the second half, if you know you're in the second half, come and watch the first half of acts, but you don't have to be there at 6:30. Yeah, that's right. Or 7 o'clock. You can just roll in kind of near as it's about to start, and we know where you are. You made yourself known. Settle in, have fun. The Market Theatre's next door to Wetherspoons, so you know. But better still, come and spend your money at the bar with us. Yeah, but it's just that when you turn up at a night and kind of go, oh, when am I on? Oh, you're fifth on in the first half. It's like, oh, okay. But there's always that. Some people like going on the first half. Some people like going the second half. Some people don't like going first. Some people don't like going last. And if you can prepare yourself for whatever it's going to be, and you kind of give the acts the opportunity to say yes or no. And what I tried to do is that we had a pretty much even 50-50 split of males and females.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, well, let's split that in each half as well. So we've got 2 males, 2 females in each half. And we have, in theory, the headliner or the last per set, one was male, one was female. So you kind of split it out, and you're giving everybody the opportunity to see everybody. And there's no, it's, I guess those promoters that may, I guess they've been and gone now, but they wouldn't see a female act as somebody that was a top billing act.
Yeah.
They'd possibly try and get them all out the way first, and then bring on lots of male acts after it.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not like that now. I think it needs to be split. It needs to be even. And I think it works better that way because you get a different variety. It's not white man, white man, white man,
Exactly.
white man, white man. And then you look at the end of the night and go, can you remember anything? No, because they just amalgamated into one. You never split what people are doing up.
No. I think having a variety of voices, regardless of who they are, just gender, race, whatever.
Yeah.
Just a variety of people on the bill will come at, even if we were to set a subject for the night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could say, let's all do something about potatoes. Everybody would come at it from a completely different angle. And I love that. And, I've been fortunate enough that I've heard a lot of sets before.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still there on the night laughing my absolute arse off.
Yeah.
Because these people are fucking funny.
Yeah.
We've been very, very lucky. We've not had anybody die yet.
Yeah.
We've had really, really great acts. And even, and we've had a couple of people on more than once.
Yeah.
We try and keep like a 4-month gap so that if the audience do overlap, the remote possibility, the chances are they're not going to remember anyway.
Yeah.
You'll sit there and go, oh, Christ, I saw this guy and he was funny.
Yeah.
Which I think it was Nathan Ball I had that with. Because he's bless him, he's absolutely lovely. But he comes on and he's not a tour de force. He doesn't announce himself. He kind of comes into a room and and then he does his act, and he is phenomenally funny. And you're about 2/3 of the way through the act, and you go, "Oh no, I have heard some of this.
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh my god!" And then, but you're still, I was going to say squirting from the eyes, but that sounds really wrong. Don't know what time of day this is going out, Mark, but podcast any time of the day. Listen after 10, kids. But yeah, you're absolutely laughing yourself silly. Fantastic.
But I will say though, the one thing that is becoming apparent is it's not a case of putting on a mixed bill for the sake of putting on a mixed bill. Every act is still exceptionally good. So
absolutely.
This is not a tick boxing exercise in any way, shape, or form. And I don't want what I've said to come across as that. It's accommodating everybody that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there are. I don't know what I need to choose my terminology carefully, but I watch every clip I'm sent.
Yeah.
Because I want to see great acts.
Mm-hmm.
And on the plus side, at the moment, people are really good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There aren't many shit acts out there.
Yeah.
There's some really, really quality, unique takes on the world. Yeah. And my only issue is what order to put them on in.
Yeah.
And so to try and get like you say, an even number of, as close as possible, an even number of male and female identifying people on the bill is kind of it. And I'll be honest, we don't get as many female applicants as I'd like.
Yep.
But I've got a couple of people who help me behind the scenes who are advocates, and they say, look, this is a lovely, safe night. We have a minimal idiot count.
Yep.
You know, we do try and keep our eyes out. I genuinely haven't been warned about anyone. I don't know if we're allowed to say this either. Just after the whole brand thing.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you're not a predator, I don't think it's properly on your radar.
No.
You know what I mean? So I understand, you know, vulnerability, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't want to perpetrate it.
No.
This is all going dark, isn't it? Yeah. It's really important. I don't want to be booking acts who are who other comedians don't want to perform with.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and so, yeah, I don't know. We're vigilant. Is all I can say.
Yeah, no, I think that comes down to as well the as part of the looking after your acts. You make them feel comfortable; they'll want to come.
Yeah, spot on. Thanks, Martin. Nicely put.
Shot the last 10 minutes out and just had that sentence. No.
That'll work.
No.
Just give me a podcast with you in it.
You think this gets edited? Not a chance. So looking back at the nights, then, what's some of the funniest moments you've seen on stage?
Oh my God! As I say, we're so lucky. The acts are phenomenal. There are too numerous to count. Bragate was pretty good, where there were lots of bras being tried on stage. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was in December.
Yeah, that was December. That was phenomenal. But I think my favourite was our first one in the new venue in January. We had a guy showed up, and he got his ticket, and he'd come along with his mate. He was a young guy, and he came along and he said, what time can I go on? I said, I'm sorry, mate, this is a booked lineup.
Yeah.
You know, the acts all have to apply and supply a 5-minute clip. And he said, 5 minutes? Yeah. He said, oh, I've got my spider diagram. I thought I could just go on. I said, no, it's not that kind of open mic.
Yeah.
Really sorry. But if you told him about the socials, said, go do the process, and we'll talk about it later. And he was there with his young mate, and they went to the bar and they sank a few. And I don't think they were thoroughly happy with that outcome. Because they went and sat at the front.
Yeah.
And this was the first gig that I didn't MC. And I booked, on the recommendation of Tasha Klusky, who couldn't do it, Danny Scott.
Yeah.
And he's an absolute live wire.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen him. I just had the recommendation, and I was like, I'd looked at his stuff online. And I thought, yeah, he's the man for us. And he'd come along, and we'd not met, so it was a little bit of a gamble. So the whole night was a little bit of a gamble. But I had lovely safe acts on. I had acts on that were, I thought were good. And these guys sat down the front and were putting the pints away, and they got a bit chatty. They got a bit involved. They got a bit. They really thought they could run the show.
Yeah,
and they were treading the fine line between involved and annoying.
Yeah,
you know, they're audience members, and that's absolutely bang on. Obviously, because it's an open mic night, we say no heckling. You can heckle the MC. Danny was taking it and taking it and taking it.
Yeah,
and there was a moment when the guy just said something, and I can't remember the exact words, but he faltered on it, and Danny just turned around and said, not as easy as it looks, is it? And the place went wild.
Yeah.
And then the guy decided to try and come back at Danny, and Danny let him, and every time Danny would just sit there and let him go, and then very gently just sit him down again.
Yeah.
And it was Danny's posted clips of it because it's phenomenal. And in the end, the entire place, it wasn't in no way hostile.
Yeah,
It's the most beautiful thing. It was all love, but it had the absolute potential to be a disaster. but one, MC's owning the room really works, and I was not the man for that job. But two, yeah, I mean, it's wonderful when the audience gets involved and when someone can not turn the audience on them. You know what I mean? In a nice, friendly way.
Yeah.
They become the butt of the joke, but they're laughing along too.
Yeah. It's
wonderful. Go on, sorry.
I was gonna say, you touched on the MC part there. I think it's quite interesting that I've spoken to a lot of people so far that have said they put on their own nights to become, so it gives them the chance for stage time and them being an MC. But you've kind of put that to one side and then go down the route of guest MCs every month now.
Yeah. Simply enough, when I started off, I thought, oh, well, I'll MC it. It can't be that hard. And like you say, I just thought I'd do 5 minutes of material and bounce off the audience perhaps a little bit, and then basically get the acts on.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done an MC course. I'd watched a few MCs, and I'd seen a few really average MCs.
Yeah.
In basements and things, and people who show up drunk and people who don't show up, and all the kind of the things that we experience.
Yeah.
But also some absolute belters who completely carry the night. And so I did the first one, and suffice it to say, it didn't go as I'd hoped. I had this, and this is kind of my nightmare about the whole thing. The worst thing that's happened to me is me emceeing.
Right.
When you ask the audience something, they just stared at me.
Yeah.
And I'd crack a couple of one-liners in between acts, and the idea is that you sort of keep everybody up at about 7.
Yeah.
And then the next act comes onto a lovely warm room.
Yep.
Now, on the plus side, my audiences are really warm anyway, but I found that I was sending them down to a 5 or something.
Right.
I was cracking a couple of one-liners or something, and it was just a little bit flat.
Yeah.
They were nice enough about it, but I just thought, no, this isn't fair on the acts. They need someone who can be a shepherd.
Yeah.
And run the night properly. So after week 1, I wanted to get guest MCs.
Yep.
Didn't have the opportunity before month 2.
Yep.
And so I MC'd the second one, and then realised it really wasn't for me. Got let down on the third one. Had an MC booked, and then they got COVID.
Yeah.
So it was like, you can't odds that. Did my absolute darndest to make sure that night 4, and that was Danny.
Yeah.
And he came in and absolutely tore it a new one. And night 5 was you.
Yeah.
Which I had to talk you into.
Yeah.
You were going to split it with me and everything. You said, nah, I'm not sure I'm going to. But you absolutely stepped up to the plate, which was wicked. I mean, you were helped by having a really good lineup.
It was a good line. This is part of the reason I think we did. I went for the organisation beforehand, because even though you hadn't spoken to people face to face, you'd had conversation with them on that WhatsApp group.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a case of camaraderie, but there was a little bit of banter that was going on. So that kind of eased everybody in, I think.
Yeah,
gently
absolutely.
into it, and it made my life easier. And I've said this to so many people. When I introduced Dan, and my head and my mouth just went completely out of sync, and this was the first time I'd ever done it. And stood up and said, "I've seen this guy before. He's pretty funny. Please welcome to the stage." Blah blah blah. And he walks on the stage and says, well, I've never been introduced as pretty funny. So based on that big up, this could be entirely shit. And it was just like, as I was talking, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you saying these words? They're pointless. They're not meaning anything. You're ruining it. But then it fed into the continuation of a joke between people. So the night never really stopped. It just flowed and flowed. And that's what I wanted it to do. And didn't try to do too many jokes here and there, but it was having that little bit of I'd met Dan once before at a gig about 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, and it worked and it played, and there was I look back on that night now and go, you forgot to do this, because the first thing any MC should be doing is telling people to make sure the phones are on silent and don't heckle. I didn't say any of those. But I never needed to, which was kind of nice.
It's awesome. It's so good. But that's it. Yeah, the admin stuff. Yeah, it's there, and it happens. And and I think everyone should have to MC at some point.
Yeah,
I think it's the ultimate improv, isn't it?
Yes,
you've got to think on your feet. If you should engage with the audience, and I was never very good at that.
Stop there 1 second. Your microphone, just lift it across. It's hitting your zip.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
No stress.
And then carry on.
Are you getting a?
I'm getting it.
Oh no, I've got some coconuts down here.
I think I'm just going to leave this bit in. It'll explain why anybody's heard a clicking.
Oh dear. No, it's and then and we had Raj Sivad this month.
I bet it was brilliant.
And he was awesome. He was really, really good. And he's been with us a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
Again, he was on the first night.
Yes.
So we are starting to get a couple of sort of repeat people. Anyway, sorry. This is turning into an Eddie Izzard sketch, isn't it? In the end, we'll have cats drilling behind the sofa. It's gonna just sort of circular. Oh dear. Keep me on track, Mark.
I'm trying. No, so the with what's I guess the question is, what do you do to make your night different? And we've kind of touched on a lot of it already in terms of it is looking after the acts, it's making it a non-bringer, it's encouraging people to stay and all of that. But where do you see it going in the future?
That's weird, and I've only just started really thinking about that because we've started to get these. I'm a terrible one for labels with like commuggles, but longhorn acts who have done hundreds and hundreds of gigs.
Yeah,
and you think, okay, why are you still doing little open spots? And it's club spots essentially.
Yeah.
So I'm still new to the whole thing, so I'm still learning the layering of it.
Yeah.
And I know that most performers just want to perform.
Yeah.
And I want to stay at this level. So I'm never going to discourage people from applying.
No.
But be aware that, currently I don't put photographs on any of the social posts because it doesn't mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest possible way. These are unknown acts that we're putting on in a very small town that's between cities.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful little town, and we've got a hungry audience, and that's where I just want to stay there, because like I say, we've got big name acts covered in our town.
Yeah.
And we've got Stevenage, who have like the Gordon Craig Theatre. They've got Jimmy Carr there every 6th week.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
Late show, early show.
Yeah.
He really milks it.
He properly does. I mean, I guess it means he can get home for like bath time or something, But but we do. They have great acts over in Stevenage regularly. there is an appetite for comedy in this district.
Yeah.
And I just think that putting on the class of act that we can get hold of, that
Yeah.
are interested in performing and are prepared to travel that far or not that far because they're local.
Yeah.
And I'm not promising to make him a star or anything. I'm not that guy. I'm just saying I'm just a guy with a night
Yeah.
and a stage and a light.
Yeah.
And I like to laugh.
Yeah.
I want to see great comedy. I want to see these new things. I'm there are a lot of comedians who are doing really, really well, and there are some amazing comedians at the top end. But there's such talent at the 1 and 2 and 3 years
Yeah.
level, and they all want stage time, and they all deserve stage time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I want to make. It's not a club. It is a club. I'm confused about what it is, Mark. And where it's going is I'm hoping to just make it a better version of this.
Yeah.
And ideally, if I can make it so that it's self-sustaining financially,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can actually pay the acts at least their travel.
Yeah.
Or at the moment I buy them a pint.
Yeah.
But
it's more than what a lot of promoters do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, we were talking about if sorry. Okay, let's think about the question. I could have thought about this earlier. Ideally, I'd like to find out, like you say, if there's an appetite to do it every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And if there's an appetite for every 3 weeks, is there an appetite every 2 weeks? I wouldn't do more than 2 weeks.
No.
And I've got a note on the end of my notes to say, I need to talk to Mark about his other idea. Because Mark had an idea, listeners. And I know I listen, so I'm talking to myself, basically. Plus all your other listeners.
Yes.
It's going really well, isn't it?
It is so far, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, you've got a really good, unique niche here. Because I think you're talking to people who I want to come and play at Phono, which makes this a beautiful, beautiful thing. Come along, please. Mark will tell you where.
Yeah.
But I've lost the point completely, Mark. Sorry. Get me back on track. Where are we? Where do I want to take it?
Yeah, where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I can sign up for an interview, mate.
Because I think there's scope here.
We've got all the charity shops.
Very good. I'm going to give you a...
Yeah! Thank you.
At least it's not that.
Yeah. And normally it would be, wouldn't it? You see my act.
It's a good act. It's good. It's actually on a side note. It's got so much better.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm not saying it was poor or bad in the first place, but it's matured in such a way that I think it's a lot of fun. Like I said to you before, is that one of my kids that came along, she thought you were the best act on the night. She loved it. She was in hysterics.
So nice. That's so nice. Thank you.
But the one thing I think potentially that room could do is, I know Des does this in June, July time when it comes up to Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
He puts on like a 5-day. I can't remember what he calls it now. It's like a 5-day Fringe where those that have got Fringe acts can come along and do a warm up show in the pub, etc. Do it every day for whatever it is, 4 or 5 days. Obviously, different acts every night. But I think that theatre is the ideal chance to offer an act that's taking something to the Fringe for like a full half an hour slot with maybe 3 warm-up acts in the first half and then the main act after that.
Yeah, it's a great shout. There is somebody talking with that room about doing something similar already.
Oh, okay.
Annoyingly. But I'm trying to get in touch so that maybe there can be some kind of Venn diagram overlap.
Yeah.
Where either we can bring my audience, which would be amazing because they're there and they're hungry, and if we've got them on tap, then that would be great. Or I don't know, or we spread it out, or it's something else. We are looking. There's a Hitchin festival coming up in June.
Okay.
Which I'm just trying to finalise the details of. We were hoping to do a 2-in-1 night, early doors with family-friendly material.
Yep.
Which I don't know. I've got a thing about that, and I think it's really difficult to do, especially with a lot of the acts we've seen.
Yeah,
and even my act, and especially yours.
Yeah,
even though it involves Toy Story.
Yeah,
it's really not for the youngsters.
No,
but then also do a later night act.
Yeah,
which I mean, as you say, we're normally 8 till 10:30, but maybe go half an hour later and do like what's the Hoxton night? Is it called Macbeth or something?
I'm not sure.
There's a dark night out that end somewhere where people are able to do material that might not get them rebooked somewhere else.
Yeah,
and I quite fancy trying that.
I think it's a great thing that's being built, and forever may it grow into whatever it grows into.
Thank you, mate.
And it's been lovely to be kind of part of the start of it. The first 6 months worth of it has been really good fun. I cannot recommend it highly enough to people. Honestly, it's the new room makes it. It really does. It finishes it off quite nicely.
It's a proper upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feel like you say. Your description of walking into that room was exactly what I felt. So thank you, and I feel it each time as well.
Yeah,
which is nice. And the last 3 I've performed at, because I'm not MCing, I can do my bit.
Yeah.
So I can do a little 7, and it's always a 10 though. Well, no bugger flashes me,
Yeah, it's true.
And but I'm not going to do every month.
Yeah.
Because one, I wanted to do the first 3 so I could refine my material, try it in front of an audience, because I'm not doing an awful lot else at the moment.
Yeah.
This is for a different podcast. I'm going to stop. Go on, mate. Sorry.
No, but I think it's I think you've built something quite kind of really nice and special and homely, and it's nice that London doesn't have all the best nights. I think that's a nice little way to kind of end, really.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. It's not going to get better than that.
So how do you? Right. So the main crux now, I guess, is the social media links. What are they, and how can people find you and stuff?
Right. As I said, we're really. I really hinge this on Instagram. Really.
Yeah.
We do post on Facebook on at Dean Harmer No Laughing Matter, but that's my comedy handle.
Yep.
But on Instagram, if you go to @for one night only Hitchin,
yep,
you'll find all the details. You've got comic links, you've got ticket links, and we put the lineups out. We put the ticket situation out, and it's all there.
Yeah,
and there's all love. And I will set up a Facebook page fairly soon, just because I really need to. Just busy.
Yeah, no, I can sympathise with that.
Yeah. Well, you run a podcast and a comedy career,
yeah,
as well as a day job.
Yeah.
So come on, put us to shame, mate.
I'll so I'll put all those links into the description for everybody to follow. Even if you're a punter, get on,
Absolutely.
follow it. You'll get first dibs of when tickets go on sale, and you'll get an idea of when the nights are and stuff like that. So you can get those babysitters planned.
Yeah, we're usually the last Thursday of the month.
Yeah.
And it's I think we've got May or June having to jump to a Wednesday, so we'll see what that does to ticket numbers.
Yeah.
But they're usually on sale a month in advance.
Yeah.
Available. Sorry, they're not on sale.
Yeah, they are free tickets.
They are free tickets.
So, but please do buy them only if you intend to go. But if you can't go, then please get in touch and get those tickets back into the pool so other people can, so the seats
exactly
are filled.
That. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that massively. I really appreciate you having me on as well, mate.
That's fine.
You're doing a great thing with this podcast. Really, really great listen. Both this and the sister podcast. Awesome.
Thank you very much. So you can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on all the W's at openmiccomedypod.com. So just give us a follow, give us a review, whichever platform you're listening to this on, please. 5-star reviews does help the amount of people that see it. Anybody you think would be interested in listening to this, share it with them, let them know it exists. There's some interesting things coming in the future. So, yeah, please stick around. And until next time, I'll speak to you all soon.